Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just landed from Florida yesterday, so I am a little tired.
Yeah. Thanks for going through this.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I could just jump around then before getting to Fisheye.
Yeah.
So the first thing I can ask is do you have a special story of how you got into SAG?
SAG. Yes, I do have a special story of how I got in, particularly. I love saying this. Matt Mercer put me in a Speedo, and that's how I got into SAG. So there was a passion project Matt was doing, a musical project, but before he could get that funded, he was doing this with mostly the same cast. He was doing this little YouTube video series, just kind of a comedy parody of Game of Thrones called School of Thrones, and it's as if Game of Thrones was written and directed by John Hughes, essentially. So all the different families are essentially cliques in high school, and the Greyjoys were the swim team. He needed a bunch of people to fill out the Greyjoys, and this was a SAG deferred project. So I remember him asking on Facebook, "Hey, can anybody come out and be extras for this? You'll get a SAG voucher, and if you get 3 SAG vouchers as a background extra, essentially that Taft-Hartleys you and lets you join the union." But on the first day, he says, "We need some Greyjoys. Here, you, Eric, put the Speedo on, and just, when we cut to you, you guys are just going to be in the background and say, Greyjoys." And I did that. And you can still find the video on there on YouTube somewhere. But because that one word was technically a line, I had a line in a SAG project. So I automatically got Taft-Hartley just by that. So I can say I joined SAG because Matt Mercer put me in a Speedo.
Yeah. And I know in terms of anime that your story is very interesting, like working with Rune Sasaki.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a path I never thought I'd be able to take, and that definitely is something that I'm proud that is a very, very unique story. For those that don't know, I started training with Rune Sasaki up in Seattle, actually, and she's a veteran Japanese voice actor who was in Macross, was in Crusher Joe, just a bunch of really popular 80s and early 90s anime. And after she moved to Seattle, she was looking to teach, and she taught us a group that we called ourselves Team Dreamcatchers, and the Japanese way of dubbing anime, which is multi-mic, what we do in America, one at a time, one person in the booth at a time, one line at a time. We would do rehearsals in the space there on anime scenes like Macross Plus, and kind of do a multi-mic setup. So it was very interesting, and it's stuff I kind of had to unlearn a little bit when I moved down to California and was like, oh, that's not how we do it here. Okay.
I think it is interesting just because I'm a personal fan of Bridget Hoffman, that one of the first things you did was the Mahoromatic OVA.
Yes, that was actually I think that was my very first named role outside of just doing Walla and incidentals, which was really cool. And I still have that on the shelf back there
Yeah.
on my DVD case.
And I
Yeah.
know Nura would have been like one of the other first things too.
That was the second. That one I got to
Okay.
work with Tony Oliver, which was really cool because he was also a teacher of mine. I took a class of his because he would take the Bang Zoom Adventures in Voice Acting classes around the country. And when he stopped in Seattle, I took him up there. I competed in the AX Idol competition, and one of the prizes of that was Adventures in Voice Acting classes, and he was teaching those, of course. And yeah, it was great to be able to work with him after that. Just kind of jump in, and one of my first projects was I can't remember. Did he also direct my Horomatic? I can't remember, but yeah, just having him there in the early parts was really special.
Your first lead was Excel World.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was opposite Akira, who again, like it's all serendipitous to me. It's all this weird little like coincidences and serendipity that just kind of make up my entire career. Opposite of me was Kira, and she was one of my first friends before either of us moved down here. We met and talked online because she was up in Alaska, I was up in Seattle, and did all these little amateur voiceover projects through forums and stuff like that. And yeah, after she moved down, after I graduated and I moved down, to have that be one of our first big roles was really, really cool.
Do you also still live with Sarah Williams?
Yes, I do. Yes, I don't know if she's sleeping right now or not. Yeah, we have a very sibling-like relationship. You know, always just bantering with each other and just tossing Dragon Ball Z abridged quotes at each other or something. We love that series.
Yeah. So, in terms of your like bigger, longer running characters, who do you think that you personally relate the most to then?
That's a difficult one, because you always try to put a little bit of yourself in everything you do, in every character. So I guess, I mean, possibly my longest running character, and I only just kind of pieced this together recently, is Gowther, the goat sin of lust in Seven Deadly Sins. Sparkle. Um, he also does the Sailor Moon pose sometimes, which I find funny. But it is my longest running character as of now, because we did The Grudge of Edinburgh Part 1 last year, and I hear Part 2 is coming out, and I hear there's also possibly another series of it coming out. And since Gother doesn't age, I don't have to really change my voice all that much. I'm grateful for that. But just his aloofness I kind of relate to, and just his dryness. I love deadpan kind of humor. I know for him it's not humor, it's just his way of being, but I kind of really, really relate to that sometimes. Just I don't know, almost detached, bemused interest in everything. And yeah, I'd say Gother.
What's been your like single favorite moment for him in the series, do you think?
I think it was really early on when he's first introduced and kind of getting his shine in, getting his exposition in, and people are kind of wondering, okay, what's his deal? What's his gimmick? And they're all sitting around at the fire and drinking, and then he's just like, okay, I'm going to suddenly learn all your secrets, boom, and just starts blasting everybody.
Yeah.
That was when I was just like, okay, I'm really going to like this guy.
Yeah. And do you think that you have a personal preference on working on more dramatic series over comedic?
I don't know if I have a preference. I definitely want to do more of that, because I feel like I have been kind of seen as this more bombastic kind of actor. A lot of my characters are really high energy, a lot of screaming, a lot of crying, a lot of just kind of charactery things. And I did do a lot of Shakespeare in college and in theater and all that kind of stuff. So I would love to sink my teeth into something a little bit more serious. And that's where, you know, having to be able to do Toradora early on, and even then that was a lot of comedy. But that's the thing, as I'm very, very self-conscious about my comedic chops. Like I'm not the best at improv, and you know, I do things that other people don't, and it's like a 50-50 whether that lands. So I would like to do a little bit more serious and sink my teeth into that, but I don't know if I have a preference, because the comedic ones do have a catharsis to them.
Do you think Ryuji is who you have the most affinity with still?
I think still, in a sense. I mean, I'm not as clean as him. Like I'm very ADHD, so when I clean, it's just like I'm gonna go to the kitchen, clean a little bit here, and then move this over. Oh, and I'm right here now, so I'm just gonna go do this. Like, hard keeping focus, but no. The thing is with Ryuji is that was Ms. America's first dub, and I think they only did one more after that. I can't be sure, but as their first dub, they gave us a lot of time to really work on it. You know, we had, I think it was about 4 to 6 hours per episode that I would record just for myself for Ryuji. And a lot of anime is really fast paced, so I don't know if I've ever gotten that much time on a show before. And of course, I was my earliest roles, among my earliest roles. So maybe they were just giving me time to kind of get my sea legs or something. I don't know. But with that much time spent in the booth with him, I definitely got a lot more time to examine him, kind of deconstruct him, and really flesh him out, add a lot of dimension to my performance as him. So I definitely am. That's one of my most proud roles, while at the same time I have learned a lot since then, because that was 10 years ago. And when I listen to myself back, I'm just like, okay, can I get a budget to just like replace 3 lines per episode? That's all I want. It's just like, I'll pick which lines. I just want a budget of 3 lines per episode that I can retake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Hydranel and Bloodlad?
Hydranel. Well, there's another one where I was opposite Kira, and this time she was my sister, and just kind of, I mean, I guess it was a precursor to Speed of Sound Sonic, because he kept kind of getting hit in a certain place. I had a lot of fun with that, and that was really cool because that was an auto cast. I actually didn't audition for that one, but by that point, I had finished Excel World. The very last day of recording Excel World, I got the email that told me I got the role of Alibaba in Magi. And I thought that was cool. So I looked it up and I was just like, oh, wait, both these characters are voiced by Yuki Kaji. So that's cool. I get 2 characters in a row voiced by the same Japanese actor. So I mentioned that to the casting director of Bang Zoom, Mami Okada, and she got a kick out of that. But sure enough, afterwards, ever since then, I guess she kind of kept going with the running joke and started casting me. She cast me as that one, and then she gave me auditions for Takeshi Aiza in Your Lie in April, another Yuki Kaji role, Speed of Sound Sonic, and One Punch Man, and just eventually started building on there. And I even auditioned for Meliodas from Seven Deadly Sins, who's also Yuki Kaji.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad I got Gother. I'm really happy for that. So yeah, I think at this point I've done about 6 or 7 roles shared with Yuki Kaji, and Hydranel was kind of like the solidifier. Is 2's a coincidence, 3's a pattern, and Hydranel was when the pattern started.
Was Demon Slayer something that you saw to audition for then?
Yes, I auditioned for Demon Slayer. I'm trying to remember who all I auditioned for, because I think I auditioned for Zenitsu originally early on, and a couple others. I don't remember if I auditioned for Tanjiro. In fact, I can probably look this up here. Since I'm at my desk, I got my emails open. It's like January of 2020. No, this was before then, because I was already cast by then. Good Lord. All right, I can't remember, but I think I auditioned for Zenitsu, maybe Tanjiro, and then I can't remember if I auditioned. I think I auditioned for Iguro later in the series, because he doesn't appear until near the tail end of the first season. I can't remember if I auditioned or if they were just like, yeah, have it. We know your work. We know you can do this. But yeah, I was really excited for that when I got that in my email. Just like, ooh, Demon Slayer. I've heard a lot of good things about this one.
Is he someone that you can connect to very many aspects on?
Yeah, I can be a little sometimes just to see, like, do things by the book. You gotta do things by the book, otherwise there's no order to anything. And like, I can be kind of militant about that sometimes. I don't know if I'd respond as much of abrasiveness as he does, but I have a lot of fun with him and exploring the more subtler aspects of his character. And I don't know how much I can say, because there's still a lot of Iguro to come. There's still a lot of really, really cool and special moments, and I don't want to give anything away, but I have read the manga and I'm really excited. Okay. Yeah.
Well, switching like on the opposite side of that, what do you think the darkest headspace you've had to go for a character is?
That would be another Yuki Kaji role. That was probably Yutagamon in Occultic 9. That's a series that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, actually. It was another
Yeah.
Aniplex show. Um, and that one is about just like accessing the other world, or like this immaterial world that kind of creates these occultic rumors going on around this town, and like ghosts and demons. And my character's kind of like a blogger, just like an investigative blogger, who gets swept up in this whole giant conspiracy and corporate like machination. um but near the end, there's this very sad scene where he's I don't know how much I should spoil, but again, not many people talk about this one. He's getting ready to sacrifice himself and just giving this very tearful speech to his friends. And just around that time, like, I was dealing with a lot of, I'd say, anxiety. It wasn't exactly depression, but I was just really, really in a funk because of a job that I was doing, a day job that wasn't the best health, like it wasn't the healthiest mentally. Um, so going into that scene, and just his passion, his yeah, his sacrifice, and it was really tearful, and I was really actually tearing up in the scene. So it wasn't exactly dark, like I wasn't, romanticizing anything, but it was definitely a place I remember I was like, I need a moment after this, guys. Can I get a 5-minute break and a Coke Zero, please?
Well, going back to Gother, I would think um, not just
Oh,
death scene would have
oh,
been
Naja, yeah. That one was also really rough. That one was a little bit more rough in a sense because we were doing that remotely. Like
okay.
that was during the pandemic. So having to kind of do that while I'm in my living room in this little like 4x4 whisper room and trying to get in this headspace while navigating everything, all the technical aspects, was really difficult. But once I really got into that, I was really excited because we hadn't heard a lot about Gother's backstory up to that point. And that one I didn't read the manga, unfortunately, because it was, what, 30 volumes already by the time I started. I was really excited to do something a little bit more emotional with Gowther and get a bit more understanding of why he is who he is. So I definitely did have some tears in that one too.
Mhm.
Tears and sweat, because the 4x4 whisper room does not have a lot of good ventilation.
Was this is probably obvious too, but was Fire Emblem something you got during the pandemic?
Actually, Fire Emblem was before the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was probably just before, if not maybe half a year. But yeah, no, I did that in studio at Cup of Tea Productions, which I'm very grateful for because I love working with them. But yeah, no, just remembering it being in studio, I can't remember exactly the timeline, but that gives me enough of a timeline to say no, that was before.
I think it is interesting that you're able to play a lot of younger voiced male characters still. Like it seems like
Yeah,
it's really easy for you to maintain that kind of vocal range.
that's kind of how I've always had this weird little like elfish. It was even higher before when I was drinking a lot of Red Bull. I still drink a lot of Red Bull. Um, but yeah, just the ability to access that. I think that's kind of why I got this character right over here.
Yeah.
Um, because I auditioned for uh all of the Amazon Trio and Pegasus, and I got the call back. They said they really liked my Pegasus, and they also really liked my Fisheye. So I think the major deciding factor for me getting this, as opposed to any of the other characters, was the fact that I could hit that note. I could get up there for the kind of bratty kind of character. Um, but yeah, then I do kind of pride myself in being able to maintain this kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, a youthful timbre, I guess,
Mhm.
because it does have a little bit of that baritone. But yeah, no, I'm happy that I'm in my 30s and can still voice the youth.
In terms of developing Fisheye, was there any basis off of the original performance in Japanese?
Yes, very much. And I can't say there wasn't a subconscious influence from the original dub as well. Because the thing is that Supers was the very first Sailor Moon that I watched on
Okay.
Toonami. Yeah, on Toonami after, was it like late elementary school, early middle school?
Yeah.
So it was my first exposure to Sailor Moon, and I remember all my friends getting the auditions during the Viz redub, and it was years into it. They had to do seasons 1 through 3, and by the time they got to season 4, I hadn't seen an audition yet. I'm just like, okay, please, 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 this season. And sure enough, it was a dream come true. So yeah, there was an influence of a little bit of the early English dub, and yeah, we get the preview in the booth of the Japanese voice actor. So I definitely want to keep their spirit alive. It's this character I know means a lot to a lot of people, and or especially this show. I mean, and this trio. And this was definitely going to be, I guess, a different landmark for the series than before, because anybody who remembers the old 90s dub, they changed a lot around. Sailor Uranus and Neptune were not lovers, they were cousins. Adds a lot of different implications. And one thing they changed was Fisheye was in the series a woman.
Right.
Yeah, not just voiced by a woman, but referred to as a she. And they didn't want to have to deal with any of the cross-dressing conversations or anything like that. Yet there's a scene where Fisheye is in a shower and completely topless. It's like, anyway. I guess that would be just an early, just like a proto gender fluidity or something. You can read the text into that now, even if that wasn't their intention. But yeah, no, so I didn't want to have any kind of like stereotypes or caricatures with Fisheye. I really wanted to bring this honesty and truthfulness to the character, because this would be the first time voiced by a male and referred to as a male. I was definitely very nervous, but I just kind of channeled my inner femininity, which I admit I have a lot of. I did a lot of musical theater, and was in my musical theater class. I was the only guy in there, so definitely have a sense of that I tried to bring out.
Mhm. Yeah, I know for me, even way back as young as I was, because I'm 25, but even seeing Super S for the first time, like, I know that Fisheye made me realize like my own sexuality. So
Yeah,
it's great that that he exists as a character.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad we got to present Sailor Moon as faithfully as we did with the redubs, and just everything intact, all characters as they should be.
Do you have just like a single favorite episode in terms of one that he like leads?
Oh, they're really good ones. I like the one where he's going after the fashion designer.
Yeah.
That one is one of my favorites. I forget what the name was. Usui, maybe?
Yep. That's right.
Yeah, because it's just Fisheye wearing the dresses at the
Correct.
bar with the trio, and suddenly, by coincidence, they bring up this fashion designer who Fisheye really loves, and Fisheye tries to become the muse of this fashion designer, and it's a really cool episode. Um, I think after that, though, it would be the very near the tail end of the trio's arc, where Fisheye discovers Pegasus and is starting to contemplate everything, puts Tiger's Eye into the dream mirror. I don't know what you call that, torture rack.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and is, kind of contemplating, okay, what is our existence? Who are we? We don't have dream mirrors. We don't have dreams, but we want dreams. I have a dream to have a dream. So that's where we got to have a little bit more than just the, let us find Pegasus and formula kind of thing.
Do you remember specifically like what was going through your head doing the Mamoru Dream Mirror episode?
I just remember thinking, am I going to get added on Twitter for this? Like, like, are there going to be some Mamoru fans out there that are going to really come after me? But no, that was really fun to be able to kind of share the screen and have a scene partner as Robbie, because
Right.
yeah, Robbie's amazing, and just to be able to interact with a character like that, because Fish's Eye and Tiger's Eye and Hawk's Eye, it's the three of them, so they're very split between who gets what episode and who gets the shine at the moment. So for me, just to have the shine with Tuxedo Mask himself was really cool.
Hmm. I know too that in the ballerina episode that the girl in question was actually voiced by Kira too.
Yeah, we're always. I mean, and she's voicing Mitsuri in Demon Slayer, so
Yeah.
I guess the casting directors know that we've been friends for a long time and just can have this bounce back. It was kind of chemistry, I guess you'd call it. I don't know. It's weird to say that because, again, we're in the booth one at a time, so chemistry kind of comes in two parts: when I record and then when she records, or vice versa.
Mhm. Was there or is there like a personal headcanon you'd like, it's like something that you'd like to see with Fisheye?
Personal headcanon would be that Fisheye is now just a fish living in a nice little sanctuary. I mean, I'm going not off of the manga, but off of what we saw in Supers, where
Yep.
at the end they get their dream mirrors, and then I guess they revert back to their original form, because I don't know if they would you qualify them as homunculi or
Yeah.
something like that. So I'm just like to think Fisheye is just a happy little fish now, swimming in the pond near where in the park. Maybe Hawk's Eye is keeping an eye out in the trees nearby. I don't know what Tiger's Eye is doing, because I think Japan would freak out if there was a tiger wandering around there.
Mhm.
But just happy there, as having his dreams, and hopefully someday we'll be able to have the ability to get back on land. Maybe Fisheye is now his own form of the Little Mermaid, which is one of my favorite Disney movies. So singing part of your world.
Yeah. Do you have I'm sure there's probably more than one like single favorite line.
Mm. Gosh, no. And it's hard to remember a lot of the lines because we don't get the scripts ahead of time, or we don't get to
Right.
keep the scripts even. We just get in the booth. It's a lot of cold reading. We see the line for the first time and then we record it and then we move on. So I'm just trying to remember. It wasn't even a line. It was the fact that I got to sing the Sailor Moon theme song. I got to hum it.
Oh, yeah.
That was probably one of my favorite moments. It's just Fisheye is putting on some makeup and just humming to himself. I'm just saying, yes. I love when they insert the songs like that.
Yeah.
But also just, I think there was a moment where they were like, "Are you going to go dress up?" And Fisheye responds, "No, this time I'm just going to go as my fabulous self."
Yep.
Just like, no, no, no. This time, all me.
I'm sure like at cons or whatever too, have you gotten a lot of like fan response reaction stories, anything like that in regards to Fisheye?
I have a couple, because it's weird. It would be a lot of the newer and younger fans that
Yeah.
would attach to this one, because a lot of fans also remember the original, and that's what a lot of us growing up first identify, like we first recognize as the Sailor Moon dub. So I get a smattering of Fisheye here and there, and usually it's people coming up to my booth and seeing my prints out there, and then seeing the Fisheye one and going, "Oh, you did that!" But I've had a couple of Fisheye cosplayers come up, and definitely some people who knew and were wanting to meet me just because of that character. And yeah, no, the most common response I've gotten is just thank you for doing it, because Fisheye means a lot to them, and especially, you know, thank you for playing it with honesty, like, which, you know, I got a lot of my director and engineer and the writers and everything to thank for as well, for kind of guiding me in the booth for this, because it wasn't all me. It definitely was not.
Yeah, I can specifically remember because the fourth season redub came out when I would have been a senior in high school, and I remember like anticipating so much who the new voice was going to be, because I knew it was going to be an LA dub, but I didn't really I didn't really know who could do that kind of vocal tone very well. So I was glad that you did it so well.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't know I could do it either until I got the audition. It's probably the highest pitch I've done.
Well, I can go off of that. Just in general, what do you think is the case where you've had to alter your voice the most for anything?
What was that?
What's the case where you've had to alter your voice the most for anything, do you think?
It may have been Fisheye, but let's see here. I would have to probably say either Seko or Laibaten Kaitos. So Seko from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, or Laibaten Kaitos from ReZero.
Okay.
So Seko, that one was difficult because that was also during the pandemic, and he was kind of a very feral. I had to add all this gravel and like feralness and wildness to this character, who is essentially just, you know, a wild feral dog owned by Chocolata, who gives him sugar cubes and he does his bidding. And then the same kind of thing, only different, just Laibaten Kaitos was a bit more up here with the gravel and everything, and just this creepy little gremlin who I was excited for this one, because he kind of takes out what a lot of people have said is best girl of the series, and I was ready to go heel. I'm a big wrestling fan, so I was ready to lean in and just build up some heat by saying, yes, I took out your best girl. What are you going to do now? But weirdly enough, he didn't appear after the first episode of that second season, and it's just kind of lurking in the background. And then another alteration as a result of that, another weird alteration of voice. They had to fill out the session because he only appears for like 5 minutes, and they're like, here, do this soldier, here, do this soldier, here, do Patrichet, who is the ground dragon for Subaru. And they didn't dub Patrichet in the first season, but sure enough, the second season, they're just like, here, just do something for it. I'm like, Baten Kaitos leaves, doesn't come back any point of the season, but Patrichet's around, so they had to keep bringing me back in for Patrichet, and I got paid more for that than the character they cast me as, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I had a lot of fun with that, though. Creature noises are fun.
Well, and speaking of other legacy franchises, everybody else I've talked to who was in Pokemon Masters was just autocast in it.
Yep.
Was that your case? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. I was autocast. I was happy about that, because the only other Pokemon I had done was Pokemon Generations, which was a YouTube miniseries. And they kind of treat it as, you know, different universes for every iteration of Pokemon. So if I do Blue here, I'm probably not going to return as Blue anywhere else. But they'll still let me do other things. So Grant and Barry were a lot of fun, and I'm happy to be a part of the Pokemon universe in that respect.
Do you have like personal anime video game franchises that you'd like to be part of still?
Dragon Ball Z.
Ball Z.
Oh yeah. Which is cool. I mean, I just was at a convention with Zeno and Alex, who did Gammas 1 and 2 for superheroes, and that was really cool to meet them after that. because we don't get to meet each other a lot of times, voice
Right.
actors. We only at conventions or passing each other in the booth when it's time for the changeover. Um, but yeah, I would love to be a part of Dragon Ball in any respect. That one means a lot to me, and probably a huge part of why I'm into anime in general and even pro wrestling.
Okay.
Like, it was a huge influence in both.
Mhm. Have you had the opportunity to audition for Genshin? Yep.
Not yet, no, actually. I don't know who I need to poke for that, but I would love to be in it. I haven't touched it yet because I know it's one of those games that would really, really get me addicted. Like, but if you want me to play it, you can put me in it, and then you'll be getting a lot more of my money. You'll be getting your money back, trust me. Whatever you pay me for it.
Do you tend to watch or play very much that you're in, like that you're cast in?
Uh, a little bit here and there. Like, I'll watch like an episode of something I'm in and be like, okay, cool. It's just really jarring sometimes because I
Yeah.
remember myself being in the booth and I can't suspend my disbelief that I'm somebody else here in front of me. Um, but I do play some of the video games that I've been in. Raiden 5. I still need to pick up Hinokami Chronicles at some point, the Demon Slayer
Oh yeah.
one. But I did play a little bit of One Punch Man, a hero nobody knows. I like that one because I love Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, and that is kind of a similar engine, a similar mechanic. Um, but yeah, as far as watching, yeah, I also don't really have a lot of time to watch anime. I have sat down, and as I'm at my computer, I will have Demon Slayer running in the background. Because again, I know the story. I've seen the first season already, and I'll have the first season replaying, and then when I get to the second season, I'll definitely sit down and watch that more. But again, I know I've read all the manga, so I know all that's going on, and doesn't I can keep it as background noise.
You didn't talk that much about Sonic yet. Was that someone that you auditioned for specifically?
Yes, that was an audition. And I'm trying to remember if I did anybody else as an audition. I think I auditioned for Moomin Rider, maybe. I don't remember. I'm not sure. But yes, it was I was called in actually for the audition. I did the audition in studio, which is kind of rare. Um but Mami Okada was there, and it was another Yuki Kaji role, so I'm sure she wanted to see through, like, she was kind of pulling for me and was on my side, so I'm very grateful for that. She was trying to make sure that I would get another one.
What What about with Teruki and Mob?
Taruki, yes, because I did audition for Mob on that one and Dragon. And then Taruki afterwards. And oh man, that was probably one of my favorite fights I've ever recorded in anime, is Taruki versus Mob. And just being able to go really ham with it, because it's fun to be in it. I'm sure everybody knows, Mob, Psycho, and One Punch Man are written by the same person. And I find it hilarious that in both I end up becoming kind of the same character. They're different. They're very different in certain respects in terms of their ego and their interpersonal relationships and everything, but they both are the rival to the main character, or the self-declared rival to the main character, who has all this arrogance, all this power, who has never been challenged, and then gets a very, very embarrassing comeuppance. For Speed of Sound Sonic, it's Sonic and Knuckles. For Taruki, it's getting Danny DeVito'd and then having to wear a Marge Simpson hat.
Yeah.
I still want to get that wig sometime. It's the giant Marge Simpson wig. I don't know how anybody would style that, but
Yeah. Was it any kind of special story with Nagatoro, or was it kind of more general?
Nagatoro, that one I just got to go a little ham with, just like completely zany, bombastic. The thing is that one was a very interesting series. How do I put this? it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is it's meant to be uncomfortable. You're supposed to feel his off-puttedness by Nagatoro's teasing. I don't know if you call it cringe humor. I don't know. I'm not hip to the vernacular anymore. But there is heart to it, and that's the thing, is, I kind of groaned a little bit myself, just like, I'm in my 30s, I'm voicing these very uncomfortably lewd teenagers. I mean, what can I really attach myself to here? But then I started realizing, no, okay, this is just kind of how teenagers act anyway. Like, this is actually not that, it's zany, it's a little exaggerated, but it's, there is something here, and the characters are developing a little bit. I'm noticing that, and so after I kind of muscled through the initial discomfort, I decided to read the manga, which is the second series I've done that too. Now it's Demon Slayer in this. Caught up with it and was like, oh, no, there is heart here. There is some heart and some real good character developments. I just sit with the fans in the Reddit comment section saying, let the man cook. Just let the man cook. We will have, if we can get a season 3, there is going to be some very, very powerful scenes that I think could rival the likes of, I mean, it's not going to supersede, but it could rival the likes of Toradora in terms of emotional impact.
Yeah.
It's all build up for something.
Yeah. What was it like being directed by Julie Madalena?
It's a blast. We have so much fun. I mean, unfortunately, she's out of state, so she's calling in remotely, so I don't get to talk with her in person, but we still just have a lot of banter and a lot of laughs, going on tangents about ADHD, and which I have. But yeah, I always felt like I could offer input easily, but I never felt like I needed to, because I always trusted her direction. I always trusted, she was so encouraging and so nice. And we all call her Mama Julie.
So is there anything else that's upcoming or part of you can safely talk about?
Safely? Well, the safest thing I can say is that I was just in Magic and Muscles. I used all my words this weekend, sorry. I was in the 3rd episode of this I think it's Aniplex show called Magic and Muscles. Yeah. And excuse me, I get to play this really smarmy, like, it's essentially like, the way I describe it is One Punch Man meets Harry Potter.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I get to play this very almost Draco Malfoy kind of character in the 3rd episode, who's just like kind of puppeting everybody. Oh, I know the vice principal, I'm friends with the vice principal, kind of nepotism kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So that one just came out. Other than that, like I said, I know there's going to be a second part to The Grudge of Edinburgh for Seven Deadly Sins at some point, and don't quote me on this, but I think I heard that there was going to be a new series in October. Yeah. Or later. So hopefully more of Gother through those. And then hopefully, well, Demon Slayer's going on right now, and I did catch a little bit of season 3, and what was originally one panel in the comics, what was only one panel, which is just Iguro giving Mitsuri her socks, like gifting her the socks. Oh, yeah. They actually expanded into a scene, like a little 30-second to 1-minute scene. So I'm just like, yay, my seasonal cameo. I get to hop in, because my contribution has been kind of diminishing season over season. First season I appear, I have a handful of lines, maybe 5. For the Mugen Train movie, I have 1 line. I have just 1 line at the very end, and then they were like, okay, be the kid in yellow who goes into Zenitsu's dream and Zenitsu tries to chop his head off or something. Second season, just 5 minutes at the very end, admonishing Tengen. And now this. So I'm just like, come on, when am I going to get to do something cool? When can I do a winding serpent slash or something? I want to do serpent breathing, damn it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's going on, and I haven't gone in for that yet. But season 3, there will be little Obanai and more after that, hopefully. yeah, because we got the Hashira training arc that just got announced. So whenever that happens,
Mhm. Well,
everything else is under NDA.
yeah. Well, my final question is always asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be. I mean, I just always hang on to the original group I was with, the team Dreamcatchers, and that's what I want my legacy to be, is a Dreamcatcher, somebody who really wanted to make his younger self as jealous as possible, and somebody who saw there's a way when there's a will, and had that strong will to do that. And I want that to be an inspiration more than anything, not just my legacy about what people say about me, but I want people to take inspiration about that, because I do feel if there's a will, there's a way, and I want everybody to be able to do that. I want everybody to be able to make their younger self so fucking jealous. Sorry. Yeah. But yeah, because I had my heroes growing up. I still have my heroes in the wrestling and in wrestling world and voiceover, because I do pro wrestling. I have a lot of fun with that. I want to be not a hero, but just somebody who follow their dreams and can influence people to follow theirs.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that we got to do this.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. This is really fun. Great questions.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Hope you have a good rest of your day then.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing this.
Oh yeah, I'll send it to you once I have it.
Yeah, please. All right, well, take care. Bye.